Hey everyone, this is Jack Mangan of the Am I Evil graphic novel MetalAsylum.net and the Metal Hall of Fame with my cohort Rich Catino.
What's up, everybody? I'm from Metal Asylum also, and Bravewords, and the Metal Hall, and the Sea of Tranquility. So, yeah, I'm doing a lot of things like our guest today, who we have with us, who is also involved in many, many things, Mr. Jeff Scott Soto. Welcome.
Yo, man, I'm jealous. I wish I had a cohort. Even just say the word cohorts, it's just how you guys doing?
Doing all right, man. How are you? Has this been a long day of calls for you? You hanging in there?
It's been a long 3 weeks because, between having to do all the promo for my new album, Wide Awake in My Dreamland, I'm also starting the promo cycle, whatever you want to call it, for the new W.E.T album. So as one is ending, the other one's beginning. So it's it's going to be another couple of weeks of nonstop talking. But you know what? I enjoy it because I get to talk about the records, how they're being made, and all the other stuff that you guys want to know.
I know we're here to talk about the new solo album, but I'm a big fan of W.E.T, by the way. That's such a great melodic AOR hard rock band. I wish more people in America knew about you guys.
Well, yeah, and that's the great outlet about having something like W.E.T, because if I were still in Talisman or Talisman were still an active outfit, I probably wouldn't do W.E.T. It would kind of be a conflict of interest. But W.E.T fills or fulfills that hole that's sort of missing in my career and the releases that I'm doing. You can hear hints of it and touches of it in my solo records, but for the most part, I leave that side to W.E.T because that's the closest to Talisman, especially even having the name Talisman in the name of the band. You know, the W.E.T, the T part of the name is of Talisman. So kind of cover that market. And especially, there's a couple new songs on this album, I swear. They're almost plagiaristic. They could have been Talisman songs.
Oh, my God. From the first two Talisman albums type?
Yeah. Well, not necessarily just in the overall direction. But you know what? The same kind of goes for a few songs on Wide Awake in My Dreamland. My co-writer, producer, Alessandro Del Vecchio, he went into this process without telling me, of course, wanting to make and build an album of material that was kind of not plagiaristic, but kind of leaned on a lot of the things that he loved about my career and my voice and the songs and the bands that I've been in. So his main objective was to kind of tap into that resource, tap into the Talisman world, the Axel Rudy Pell, the W.E.T, even some of the solo stuff I've already done. And he wanted to kind of wrap a whole kind of personification of who I am in one album. And I think he succeeded greatly on it.
Yeah, I would say too. I listened to the whole album twice, and I can definitely hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, so Rich, if you're good, my question actually for you, Jeff, was about Wide Awake in My Dreamland. Because I think, I've been listening to it as well, and I think it's fantastic. I'll tell you, since it's all about me, even though we're talking, I'll say I love the title track, and I really love Desperate as well. Do you have any favorites emerge for you?
Well, yeah, and it's funny because when you're sequencing an album, when you got all the songs done, you got to have to create the ebbs and flows of an album sequential order. It's always difficult because a lot of people the old way of doing it used to be the strongest songs first, the hits or the singles or whatever you plan on doing as the more representative of the album has to be at the top of the album, and that's the old way of thinking. I try not to, in my mind, do any fillers. If it's on the album, it's on the album for reasons because it belongs on the album. I'm not going to put things on there just because I need to fill time or, needed 11 songs, I guess this one will do. It doesn't work that way with me. And so because even the very last song on the album is called Desperate, it kind of brought me back to my humble beginnings in my career. To me, it kind of sounds like it represents the Yngwie Malmsteen side of where I started in my career. So in a strange kind of quirky way, I wanted to put the last song on the album that represents the beginning of where it all started. So if that makes any sense.
Definitely, yeah.
But I also needed to create a moment. I thought that song didn't really fit in between certain others, and that's why it was kind of placed there for both reasons I just explained. Now the other ones, you You have some that are up tempo, mid tempo, then kind of ballady, schmaltzy, whatever you want to call it. You've got to keep a flow, a kind of hills and valleys kind of thing going on when you're listening to a record. Otherwise, you're going to lose somebody. You have too many songs that have the same tempo or in the same key, like back to back to back. It's kind of like, oh, geez, I feel like I'm listening to the same song for 15 minutes. So you got to find and create ways to kind of keep the album moving and not make the listener want to push the fast forward button. And so, yeah, my favorites are intertwined within the record. They're not necessarily all my favorites at the beginning, and the rest is kind of like the throwaway stuff.
No, understood. No, that's great. All right, Rich, what do you got?
Okay, so this is the 7th solo album. So the album was recorded and written as it's credited with Alessandro, right?
Correct.
So how involved was he, and how involved were you in the collaboration?
Alessandro was more involved with me for the first time ever in terms of overseeing the entire album, making sure all the parts were there, making sure that everything was recorded well and ready for mix and all that stuff. He was more hands-on than I was able to because I was in between tours, bands, and otherwise. I finished the Soto tour in October of 2019 last year. I had just enough time to come home, kiss the dogs, and pat the wife, and repack the bag and get on the road with TSO for the next 2 months. During those 2 months is when Alessandro started writing the record, started sending me demos, so I could get all the lyrics written because we knew I only had a small window of time in January, basically 2 weeks or 15 days rather, to sing 11 songs before I had to start with the Sons of Apollo tour. So the whole from September on through basically, I'm going to say August of this year was completely slammed, and there was no other way to get the record done. Frontiers originally had the idea of releasing the album late summer, so the only way I could follow up on any of that, I had 15 days to sing 11 songs after 2 major tours. I was toast, I was fried, but I did it. I knocked everything out. Because of COVID, because we were able to come home, and after numerous conversations, they decided we don't know how long this is going to last, so let's move the album release down to later part of the year, which I was happy with. We all thought, the world thought, we would all be back to normal again by then. I could follow up with promos, whatever, videos, do everything as I was supposed to. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, but since we locked in November, it still allowed me to turn in the masters later, which allowed me to go back and revisit a lot of the things that my voice just sounded like. I would have been so bummed on this record if I had to release it the way my voice sounded doing it back in January. I fixed a lot of stuff. I even added things that I didn't hear until after revisiting the stuff I was fixing and replacing. So there were some oohs and ahs and some other backing vocals and some other guitar stuff that we were able to throw in that were not there had I not was not allowed or allotted that extra time to do it.
Okay.
Great.
Sounds good. All right, Jack?
Well, this isn't the question I had lined up, but you kind of teed it up. So I'll ask is, how do you, after 35 plus years or 30, more than all these years of singing at this level, this high level of performance, how do you kind of keep your voice fresh and powerful?
Well, that comes from realizing the responsibility behind it. And luckily to my credit or to my, just in my overall career, I was lucky enough to be smart enough not to fall prey into all the elements, so to speak, the environment around me when you're touring and when you want to have fun, you want to have a great time. And the usual touring life for a 20 some odd year old is drink all night, screw all night, take drugs, smoke, sing every night, and basically blow out your voice before you're 40. That's the routine in general. Luckily, I didn't fall into that category. I never drank. I never smoked. I never took drugs. So my only responsibility was getting the proper rest and hydration, which I didn't even find out or learn until later, and started acting on that. From that, I'm the most boring person to hang out with on tour because I'm constantly worried and just taking care of my voice. I don't want anything to mess it up. Bottom line is YouTube is forever. Back in the old days, you do a live show, you're having a bad night, somebody's going to make a crappy cassette recording where it's so distorted it kind of corrects itself on how bad you sound. But today, everybody's got high-quality phones and cameras that they get into the shows, and before you can even say, can you please not it's already on YouTube. So the
Yeah.
fact YouTube is forever, I need to make sure that I have the responsibility for myself, because if I'm horrible, that's going to get out there. People are going to start talking about how I've lost it, how I can't sing anymore. I'm terrible live, and that's going to start hitting me in the wallet. I want to be able to continue touring. I want to be able to deliver my voice in a quality way to people who are spending their hard-earned money expecting it. So it's kind of a responsibility that goes all the way around.
Okay. So you have the Soto band, and then you go under Jeff Scott Soto. So for somebody that doesn't know, what makes it different between the two bands?
The music. Jeff Scott Soto is more of a culmination of the things that I've done through my life and my career. I try to put a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then I add a little extra sprinkle of stuff that didn't necessarily make the cut in terms of the other bands and projects that I've been a part of, because I have so much diversity and interest in that of wanting to do other styles of music that not every band or not many bands would allow me to kind of tap into those territories. So I saved my solo career for that. The band Soto is a heavy, more contemporary version of what I love about hard rock and metal music today. And I get to explore that without tapping into the melodic side of what people expect from me. We do more, it's more of a, I guess, a heavier, I don't want to say grungy, but it's because it's detuned and heavier in that sense. It kind of fits into more modern metal, more so than anything I'm doing with the JSS thing or any of the other bands I'm doing. I would say Sons of Apollo is probably closest to Soto because it's as heavy and it's as aggressive. Obviously, Sons of Apollo is way more proggy. So Soto, we dabble in it, but we're not in the prog category, so to speak.
Right. Okay. Go ahead, Jack.
All right, great. Yeah, again, your resume. So let's just, if you don't mind, let's kind of just all three of us maybe fanboy a little bit about some of the incredible people you've worked with in your career. I mean, it's really a who's who. I mean, who are some of your favorite people that you've worked with?
Well, I have to start from the top down. I mean, the latest incarnation of what I'm doing, as I just said, Sons of Apollo. It's one of my favorite collaborations because I'm basically with every giant as far as musicians in the world in one band, in one outfit. The pedigree in this band is just ridiculous, and then there's me. But I love being associated with that level of talent, with that level of I guess superiority in terms of what we do on our instruments. So then if we start going down the pecking order, it's I don't know, it's just I just love being a part of so many different things that give me challenges, give me versatility and creative freedom to kind of draw from each other. So I would have to say Sons of Apollo is a big one, but I have to equate everything that I'm doing with everyone to kind of make what rounds me off as JSS, I guess. I don't know.
So how do you separate what lyrics you write for Sons of Apollo and then what you would write for yourself on a solo album?
That's easy to do. That for me, that's the easiest process because the songs themselves, when I hear the song, that it dictates what it's going to be about. There's no real process on how I come up with lyrics or themes. It basically writes itself. When I listen to a song that's an open canvas for me to kind of put my melodies and lyrics behind it, by listening to the song, it dictates itself. Okay, this one's going to be about that. This has this kind of eerie mood, or this has this romantic mood. All those little elements of the actual song itself is what dictates how I'm going to actually complete the song. So the process is exactly the same for every band, for every project. You just let the song do the talking, let the song do the writing for itself, without overthinking, without processing. Well, I think this is more of a Sons of Apollo lyric, so I better save it for that. It's not like that at all. The song needs to be completed based on how the song sounds and the story.
Even though Sons of Apollo is so proggy?
Yeah, because my lyrics with Sons of Apollo, it's not prog based. I write my lyrics based on life or based on situations around me in every scenarios, and I do the same thing with Sons of Apollo. It's no different. There's a lot of world issues that I talk about. There's a lot of things that we are dealing with as a human race that I deal with, that I talk about in Sons of Apollo lyrics. So as far as I'm concerned, if I'm doing a Soto song or a JSS song and it's a heavy kind of tune or even just something that sounds like it can't be about dancing through the dandelions in the sunshine, then obviously that's what I'm going to write about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Jack.
Actually, I want to hear that song about dancing through dandelions. Well, so you've been associated with, you've been heard on a number of incredible covers. What are some of your favorite non-JSS or what are some of your favorite cover songs to sing?
That's an interesting question because I've done so many covers or in bands that I've been in, we've wanted to cover things or do certain things live. The one I enjoyed the most, I would have to say, and it's not rock or not part of my genre at all, is the song Purple Rain. It's a simple song, but it's got so much heart and emotion, and I feel it when Prince is singing it, and I try to emote the same level and the same emotions that he's putting into it whenever he's sang it live. So that's one I can really just get into the groove, the pocket, and I just throw my entire soul into it.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. A great answer.
Yeah, great song too.
Yeah. I guess just as a quick follow-up on that, I really thought, the live with the Psychotic Symphony, the Diary of a Madman was something, you sounded great and the band sounded great in the choir. And it was just, seemed like another one where all the elements came together.
I wish I could throw that one into the mix in terms of a favorite to sing live, but that was literally, I think it was the third time in my life that I'd ever sung that song. The first time was the day before when we rehearsed with the orchestra. We ran through the set twice. So the third time I ever sang Diary of a Madman was that night on that live DVD. So it was more thinking, remembering, making sure I remember the notes and where to come in and all that stuff more so than I was actually just in the pocket enjoying the moment.
Wow.
So why the title Wide Awake in My Dreamland?
Well, it's aside of the fact that I already written the lyrics to the song itself before I named the album that, I just found, the song itself is basically what we're all living through and dealing with in terms of everything pretty much around the world, not just us, not just in the U.S., but people around the world are dealing with their own social issues, racial issues, religion, politics, genders, all these different things that we're all dealing with as a people. But more so here in the U.S., there have been times where I felt this can't be real. I got to be dreaming. But no, I'm wide awake and kind of seeing all of this for real because, there's certain dreams you have. It feels and seems so real. There's no way you could be asleep. And even when you kind of wake up and shake yourself out of it, you fall back into that same dream. And that's kind of what I went for thematically on this album. The cover represents that, and a lot of the lyrics represent that because I do write in double entendre. If you see a song like Someone to Love or Love's Blind, I'm not necessarily talking about love in the sense of a man and woman or just two people. I'm talking about the overall sense of love between us as a human race. Everyone needs someone to love is more about it's kind of like the same kind of message. All you need is love that the Beatles did. It's more of a peace protest than it is something about a couple or a relationship.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
All right, so I just want to put an upfront disqualifier. Just so you know, we're not talking shit. We're not looking for dirt. But I guess my question was, I want to hear if you can just share with us just one of your favorite memories, it's some favorite fun story of your time with Yngwie Malmsteen.
I have many. I made a vow. I guess it's almost 2 years ago now. I made a vow that as I'm seeing my peers, associates, friends, family passing before my eyes, I lost my brother, Paul O'Neill from TSO, and David Z from the band Soto, all in the same year. I just made a vow that I don't want to live in the rest of my life, whatever's left, any further with any kind of collusion without any cloudiness or water under the bridge and all that stuff. I want to live peace, harmony, and I want that of the people that I've worked with, the people that I do work with now, and the people that I will work with. I want I just want a unity. I want to leave this earth just feeling at peace with everybody in my life. So from that day forward, I said I will never say or think about anything negative with when it comes to Yngwie Malmsteen or when it comes to Journey or any of the things in my life that were possibly considered a bad situation. That being said, everything that I think and remember now is more on a positive tip, because I would love someday to be able to sit down with Yngwie and have a cup of coffee and talk about the old times, talk about things that I'd be sharing with you now, and us to actually be friends again without this constant rub of, well, he said this and he said that, and it's all crap now. You know, we should be adults. We should be able to put everything or anything behind us and just move on the rest of our lives with the positive part of why and how we know each other. So one of the well, gosh, there's so many so many things to remember. I wish I had time to think of one and remember one, but just in general, the excitement that we were garnering. I mean, I was 19 years. I just turned 19 when we started our first tour, and we were all kids. We you know, the oldest one in the band was Anders. I think he was 22 or 23, the drummer. And for me to look back now and realize we were just babies, just out there, just killing, setting the world on fire with what we do. It truly is an incredible memory of those humble beginnings of where my career started. And I can think of so many times where we were just on stage just having a blast, and they absolutely overshadow and outrule any negativity that I experienced with him.
Awesome.
Hey, odd that you just asked that, because I have a not similar, but just related question.
Right.
So oddly enough, this weekend I'm doing a top 10 like essential or favorite power metal albums of all time list. So
Okay.
one of my choices is obviously Marching Out.
Nice.
So, and you also have history with the German guitarist Axel Rudi Pell.
Right.
So I'm curious on your thoughts on Marching Out and its impact to the development of that power metal genre.
It's so funny when people bring it up. A lot of them, I take it with a grain of salt when somebody says, you were my favorite singer for Yngwie. Those two albums were the best part of his career, because he's had some incredible moments and he's such an incredible talent. You can't say that any one song or album is the epitome of who and what he is, because somewhere along the way, all the little things, all the little drops he's doing here and there on every release is indication of growth and just putting his everything into everything he's doing. So to just take one or two items from 35 years ago, I think is unfair. That being said, I do look back on it when people do say this, and I actually do kind of freak out, not realizing, had somebody told the 19-year-old me that you guys were making history, you guys were setting a standard, you guys were setting a bar, I wouldn't have believed it. We just did what we did. We had a great time doing it, and we tried to build Yngwie's career and make him look as good as possible while he was setting the world on fire with his guitar playing. And I'm so proud of those moments. I'm so proud of that time that, of course, I listen to Marching On now. I can barely listen to it because I think I sound so different. But it really just it almost brings a tear to my eye because of how young I was and not really knowing anything, and not even a smidge of what I know now. If you could just go back and kind of redo it that way with all that knowledge and experience, you probably would have a completely different outlook.
Mm. Well, do you see it like I say, as part of the development of that genre? Do you see it up there, up there with like the first two Halloween Keeper of the Seven Keys albums, like that type of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I do see it in that sense. And again, it blows my mind that we were pioneers, so to speak, or we were we were kind of laying new ground and setting the standard or the bar or whatever you want to call it for that time. It certainly is. It's a very proud and humbling moment for me to feel that I was part of that.
Okay, great. All right,
yeah.
Jack.
I'll just add on that it's truly one of my all-time favorites. It is just, the stuff of legend. So it's
awesome.
It's incredible, like you said, that you guys were so young, because it is a very mature album.
Right.
There's such maturity there.
And that's why I'm talking about how I cringe when I listen to my voice, because you can hear I didn't really have a style, so to speak, yet. You can hear that my style was, I was just basically trying to emulate Dio and Bruce Dickinson and all the favorite singers of that genre during that time. I was just chasing that and trying to find who I was. And I eventually found that by not trying to emulate those guys. But when I listen to it back, I sound like I'm trying to sound like Dio. I'm trying to sound like Bruce. I'm trying to sound like others that were already doing what they're doing, because I was too young to know what my style was yet.
I don't know. It's great. It's great stuff anyway. But yeah, I know we're almost out of time. I want to make sure that you get a chance. We talked a little bit about you have 2 albums coming up in the near future, and obviously everybody's touring plans and travel plans are a little bit snarled. So what is coming up what can your fans and what can the public look for from you in 2021 and the future that you can see?
Well, at the moment, as you said, everything's just kind of on hold, and we've got the rebooked Sons of Apollo tours in South America and Europe coming up, if we're able to pull them off. They've already been rebooked 3 times, and I just hope that somewhere along the way there's just some kind of miracle that allows us to be able to pull these off finally. At the moment, that's all I have booked. That's all we have planned, because we don't want to get too deep into doing more and have it pulled as well. That being said, TSO is the only other thing that I will be doing this year. They found a way for us to be able to do a live stream of the Christmas Eve and Other Stories. So at least we don't have to go dark with TSO this year. We're going to be able to pull that off in December. But other than that, I'm like everyone else. I'm in limbo, just waiting for the word for us to be able to go back out and do what we're supposed to be doing.
All right, I got one more.
Yeah.
Do you think you might do anything virtually, like with your solo band or something else, in the studio, outside of the studio, everybody doing something from home, something like that?
I did do a couple of them already. I did more of an acoustic thing early on, and I got to be honest with you, as much as I missed singing and touring live, those things to me are so impersonal. And yeah, they might replace an audience being able to see you live, and at least for the time being, but it's so impersonal in the sense that I feed off an audience. I feed off the crowd. I feed off the hands in the air and the audience response stuff that we do at a show. And I don't know, man, I find something so cold about it that I'd almost rather wait it out until I can do the real thing again. I really am not that interested in doing live stream stuff. On my own stuff anyway. Not to say that I won't, but at the moment I'm kind of holding off on doing that. I don't want to believe that this is the new normal. I want to wait for the real normal to come back.
Right, I understand. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in the end, the reality is we concerts to escape life. We go to concerts to get you work hard, you have your family, you have your things you have to deal with, you have your hard times, your issues or whatever in life. When you go to a concert, you go to escape all that. I don't want you coming to a concert of mine and being told you have to wear a mask, you have to stand this way, you can't take your mask off, you can't have fun, basically. To me, that's not going to a concert. That's not enjoying the experience and the escapism that comes with going to a rock show. So that's why I want this to be over, and I want to get back to the way we all remember things.
Well, yeah, we don't want to tie you up too much longer, but we appreciate the time. Well, actually, we'll say really quickly, we'll give you a belated happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday.
Appreciate that.
But yeah, just thank you so much, and hopefully, we'll definitely do our part to help promote the upcoming albums as well through
and review it as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. There's a lot in the pipeline, especially because of COVID. I've done nothing but just overwork in the studio here, so there's a lot of stuff that's going to be just coming out like crazy soon. for better or worse, you got to get used to it because you're going to get sick of me.
No, we look forward to that, man. I look forward to lots of new music. That's good news. Yeah, if there's a silver lining, that's definitely good news.
Exactly.
Well, Rich and Jack, thanks so much. I mean, appreciate you guys, taking your time to do this with me and getting the word out there. So do appreciate that.
Well, thank you as well. It's an honor talking to you. Longtime fan.
Definitely.
Right on, man.
To see you on the road, hopefully sometime in 21. Hopefully at some point.
Sure hope so. So then, just keep it alive, man. Keep it alive and until we can get back to playing it live.